Hi, so welcome to this video. This is just an update on some of the evidence I found this spring of mountain lion or Puma activity in this area. So I did have a sighting here and I had another one recently. And so I'm putting up the camera traps, but I just wanted to talk through the evidence of what I found. So I'll show the different pieces of evidence and then talk about the strategy I'm using at the end. Hi, so this is the area where I found the first scrape behind me on the corner, and I moved all my cameras here because I got quite excited, and obviously then I found hair in it, so I got even more excited and started sending that away for analysis. And this is where I kind of got a bit bogged down because it seemed that the mountain lion already moved on, and I was expecting him to come back. But so I put cameras up here, but it's very difficult because there's a big building site, you've got cars going by, got a huge number of dog walkers, and so I just show the footage of the scrape and then talk about the hair test that I tried to do to get DNA proof, and then that just hopefully will set it up for the further evidence I found back in the area where I was originally looking. So this is the area where I saw previous mountain lion activity. And so these are the woods where I found a scrape previously, and I heard mountain lion calls coming from a female. And then behind there you've got the area where I saw a mountain lion and I found scats. And then I also filmed the male mountain lions running across that field. And then linked further on is where I found this first scrape then this year. And so you've got an area of pine trees planted inside normal, so deciduous trees, and this is about 700 meters away from the motorway, and so that's about 0.44 miles. So it's kind of within a kilometer, they say, is where males mark their territory. So now if you look at the width of the scrape, it is about 10 inches again, and you got the mound there, and I'm not sure, like there's a ridge in the middle here, so something scraped along there and along there. So I'm thinking again it's a male, but it's quite long, so if you look for the length of it, I think it's going to be like 29-30 inches. So on another tracking video, somebody said you can smell it to see whether it smells of pee, so I thought I'd give this a go. So I got down and I actually found like bits of hair in there as well, so white hair, which would come from the underside of a Puma. So if this is a scrape from one of them, so what I'm going to do is try to take away some of this hair and then get it analysed. So where is it? So this hair here, get it analysed and see what they say, so whether this is then from a deer or from a mountain lion. So I've managed to get a few hair samples, but it's obviously just like picking individual hairs out of a scrape, so not like I got a big clump of it, so I don't know how much they'll need. So in another video, when I was looking at Scat, people suggested that I get it tested to get DNA results, see if it's a big cat. So I'd already been in contact with Warwick University because I'd read in a newspaper article that they've been doing some testing for the National Trust. And so I've been trying to get advice on how best to give any sample to them, and the general advice was to keep it cool. So when I found this hair, then I emailed again and just generally asked what to do. And so again, it was saying to keep it cool, and I wasn't sure whether that meant then put it in the fridge or leave it out. And so I did put it in the fridge for a brief while, and then I took it out, but I got it up there pretty quickly. and it took a long while to get the test results, and I think they were doing some quite extensive testing with DNA sequencing. And so then afterwards, once I got back a not a negative result, but just like a non-result, then I started looking into different ways and asked if they had any of the sample left, and I was in two minds whether to send it all to them anyway. And then apparently you can just look at the cuticles on the hair to see which family of animals it comes from. But by this time, I'd sort of chased for a long time, and I just wasn't really getting anywhere with the camera trap. And then they said about if I find some scat to send that up as well, but by that time I put that in the fridge as well, and it grown a lot of mold. And so I just really got bogged down with this DNA testing, and it kind of distracted me from putting camera traps up. So the scat that I found this time is in the same field as where I found the previous one, and that's also where I saw the mountain lion originally sniffing the ground. So this is the area where I found some more scat. So you go along here, there's a fox run or something along here. And then previously I found it further along at the top of that ridge. And we go around the field, see the gate at the top there. But this is so not quite as far along as previously, and it's not quite as fresh as the previous one I found. But I didn't measure it previously, so I'm going to measure this one. So it's not actually very easy for me to lay this out, so I'm going to have to measure each segment in pieces and then add it up. So here if I measure that piece, say 2 inches, that piece there, 4 inches, that piece there, another 2 inches, this piece here maybe like a couple of inches, and then 2 more inches for that one. So let me just give you an impression here. This section here is like 3 inches there and 2 inches there, and so like we've easily got 7 inches there just looking at that. So it is actually, like, when I move it, it's relatively fresh, so I'm going to try taking a section, perhaps get some analysed. This is a big roast, but people told me before it didn't contain enough bone, but we've got hair in there, and I don't know if that's bone or not, but apparently it's supposed to be all calcified and rock solid, but I never know. So hi, so the area where I found the scat this time was out in the field, but in front of that opening in the tree line there behind me. And I did actually, like, when I was walking along here quite recently, I did actually like almost bump into the mountain lion again, sniffing by the path, and he actually went and jumped back in to that gap, and that's the area where in my first sighting it ran to that area and then jumped in. So if you see behind me, there's the trail, and that leads into that opening that I just showed. And so it seems like it must be foxes or something using this run, but the other male mountain lions coming through as well. And when I saw it, it was sniffing, just sort of behind me, pointing in the direction that I'm pointing now, out into the field. And I was walking along the side of the field, and I thought it was a very large Labrador or something, so I practically walked up to it. And then it walked back towards that opening and just sort of sat in front of me as I was walking up the edge of the field, so I wasn't far away at all, and it just sat and then bounded into the hole. So when I recorded it the first time, I thought it was jumping into a tree, but actually bounded very far forward into the hole. And so I'll show the other place where there was an opening where I put my camera up previously, and I recorded them coming out when there were screeches from the woods. So if you see behind me there, that's where there was an opening in the tree line, and the mountain lions came through there because I put my camera up there previously, and then the Scat was out in the field, so maybe about 20-30 meters up, and I was thinking that this was to do the high ground, and then I was thinking about wind direction and blowing it towards any entrance underneath the motorway where the other mountain lion might be coming through. But it seems to me that there's this one male who comes through, uses an entrance in the tree line, comes through and then starts sniffing next to the path as he goes along. So it must be looking like for a female scent or something like this. And so that's why I think the scats are being placed at these entrances in the tree line. So I wasn't sure whether to show the paw prints or not, because I'm far from an expert on this, and I made a mistake with some of the scrapes before. I was getting a bit carried away with myself, showing some deer scrapes. But it is actually on the path between where I found a really good scrape this year and the field where I found the scat and had my sighting, my first original sighting. So that's why I showed these. Obviously, it's probably going to spark debate because it's very hard to always distinguish paw prints from big cats. So I'll show them anyway, and just sort of put the disclaimer there that I might be wrong on perhaps the second one. I think the first one is quite clear. So this is the first paw print that I found on the 16th of April, and the thing that stood out to me was the size of it, first of all, being about 5 inches across, because it's right in front of a man's shoe print. And then I looked at the roundness of it, and then the fur markings surrounding the pads. And so when I saw the mountain lion, I'd not really seen one before, and so what I saw when it walked was that it would lift up its front paws, and they were big and floppy, and then it would push them down like a kind of suction pad, so you can really see the imprint of the fur around the paw pads. So I'm aware that people will say that that they don't have claw marks in them, but I think you can see here very fine claw marks, and apparently this is normal, so on slippery ground or when they're trying to run, so they need traction. So these claw prints are a lot finer than you'll find from a dog. And so that's the area there where I saw it, and that's an actual cougar's paw there, showing all the fur around the pads. This looks a bit different to a dog to me, but I don't know. So I'm not at all sure about this one at all, but if anything I say it's a rear paw print. The reason why I'm showing it is because it's got no claw marks. And so I think the one I showed before would be the front right hand side, and then this would be a rear paw print if it is one. So this is the area where I found the second scrape, just down that path there. So unfortunately I didn't get any videos at the time because I'd moved my cameras down to where the first scrape was. This is because I'd read somewhere that, or someone told me that mountain lions always revisit their scrapes within a day or two to see whether a female had been there. And so that's why I moved the cameras from here. And even after I found the paw print up here, I was kind of questioning to myself whether it was a dog's or not. So I got myself in a bit of a mess at the time. But have a look at this scrape, and for me it's the clearest one, and I can't think why anyone could say that it wouldn't be from a big cat. So here in the middle of the path, just further down from where I found the last one. So the last one was up near the big tree at the top in the middle. So here looks like another scrape. And you can actually see the imprints from the paws, where it's dragged the earth back to form the mound at the back. Fortunately, I didn't have my camera up at the time, but good to know they're around. So I've just got my tape measure, and this seems to be quite a big scrape, so it looks to me to be a big male. And you can see there's like 1 foot, so it's definitely over 12 inch, over a foot I'd say, so like maybe even 13 or 14 across. So lengthwise, this is a short one, but yeah, so 15 inches, 15 inches maybe. So this is the scrape that I found further up that path in December 2021, and you can see the very rectangular scrape and the amount of earth brought up. So I'm quite convinced that this is actually a mountain lion scrape, and it's on the same path as where I found that really good one showing the paw prints. And so in the same video I actually perhaps got a bit carried away with myself and found what are probably deer scrapes, because they're underneath overhanging branches and they're more circular, and they're just basically clearings in the dust, and so they're not of the same rectangular shape, and they don't have the big pile of debris there either. So that was probably my mistake there. So because I think the motorway is the boundary of a territory for between two males, I'm expecting the male whose territory this is, so this side of the motorway, to come around between now and May time, either after breeding somewhere else or coming here to breed if he finds some activity from a female. And so I'm going to ignore these woods here behind me because they proved such a distraction last year, and I'm just focusing really on leaving the cameras in place and leaving them along the trail where I found the paw print and I found 2 scrapes before. I did put up another camera at the opening in the field where I recently saw the mountain lion and where I found the scats previously, because I think this is a good place, so it would be a shame not to look there. And so that would be where an intruding male would come through, or the resident male would then leave his scat and then walk into that opening. I don't know anything about the females, so I've not really found any activity for a female, so I just really like to get some shots, mainly of the resident male, because I've been finding his scrapes and he seems pretty big. So thank you for watching the video, and hopefully there'll be a positive update before the summer next year.